Hello, hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to another episode of the Insights Podcast. This is an advice podcast for 20-somethings where I highlight holistic health, travel, and joy via the stories of my life, and hopefully somewhere between the lessons, laughter, and love shared, you all gain some insight for your own lives. I'm your host, Sienna, but you can call me C. Sienna, mama.xita, whatever floats your boat, truthfully. And today we're going to get into travel. If you follow me at all on any of my social media platforms, which actually I say any, but realistically it's like Instagram, and recently, as in like this past week, I've started using TikTok, honestly not intentionally. I've just been using it to like auto sync videos for Insta Reels, and then realized if I already made it on TikTok, like I might as well post it. So interesting, all TBD. But yeah, so if you follow me on Instagram or I guess TikTok as well, you know that I went to Greece. Woo, cue the applause. Woo, cue the snaps. Okay, me throwing myself a little party. Greece has always been a bucket list trip of mine. And I very much just decided that I was going to stop waiting for people to want to do things with me. Not in the sense that like I don't want to, travel with friends and people and all of that, because I've never actually truly had, that's false. I've had one group trip in my life. Yeah. I've had one like we're all booking this flight, going together trip. And that was before the world ended in March of 2020. I went to Hawaii for the first time with my friends, and we did our like senior spring break. Unbeknownst to us, it was also kind of like a graduation trip, ironically, because the world ended. But all of that to say that like I really enjoy traveling, and so while I want to have girls trips and vacations and general just like group trips and like a couples retreat thing where like everyone's a couple but we're all friends and whatever, I want to do all of those things. I also really enjoy solo travel, and I don't want to put off going to places because I want to go there with other people. There are so many places that I can and want to enjoy by myself, and so Greece was just a place that I never envisioned with other people, in the sense that like if I went with friends, that'd be cool. If I went with a partner, that'd be cool. But it's not a place in my mind that I'm like reserving for a specific kind of trip. And so I really just wanted to go, and I had the time off, and we're going to talk about PTO for sure. And so I took it and I went to Greece, and it was super, super exciting, super lovely. There are so many aspects that I could cover, but I did ask y'all what you wanted to know. And so I want to address those things. And then if there's anything remaining at the end, I will circle back to it. So one of the first questions I got was around planning, right? What did I plan? How did I plan? Etc., etc. And so I actually did no planning. Also, I don't know if y'all hear it. I don't think you do. But I have two notebooks in front of me. One of my journals with the notes for this episode, and another like travel journal where I have the actual itinerary and all of my outfits and all of those things, because I was real hyper organized for this trip. So if you hear like flipping through pages or whatever, just know that that's that. But for the planning of it, I did none. I am such a planner in my everyday life. I'm fairly organized. By no means am I the most organized in my family, but like I'm a fairly organized person. And so I enjoy organization, and I enjoy like having, that feeling or sense of like preparedness for pretty much any situation. But when it comes to vacation, I don't want to plan, because I plan so much in my day-to-day life, because my job requires my organization skills, and so many aspects, there we go, of my life require such high levels of organization and just consistent organization. I don't want to do anything when it comes to my vacation. I want it to be planned for me. very much just feels like the whole experience is a vacation, as opposed to once I get there, then it begins. So I did no planning. I actually went on a trip with a company, and I'm really hoping for a referral code. So if y'all could up my Instagram, just like engagement and shares, and if anyone, has people in their community that they think would gain value from my platform, that'd be really, really appreciated. And the reason that I'm asking for that is because I actually applied to be an ambassador for this company. So I'm hoping I can get a referral code. I do plan on putting this episode out today, so I don't have it at this time. If you want to hit me up and you truly want to book something, today or tomorrow, then by all means, hit me up and I'll let y'all know the name. But I am hoping that I can get a referral code. So I want to wait on giving y'all the name until hopefully I can also give you a discount. But I went with this travel company, and I have traveled with them before, actually, to Costa Rica in 2017, and that was another solo trip that I did. It was my birthday present to myself, freshman year of college, spring break. And so the way that it is it is a travel company for college age people, so anywhere from 18 to 29, inclusive of 18 and 29 year olds. That is the age range of this group, and you can sign up with friends, you can sign up by yourself, and you will meet this other group of travelers, I believe only based in America, but I could be wrong about that. But you'll meet this other group of travelers traveling, and so once you get to that place, some of them will actually be on your flight. I met up with one of the girls on the trip because she was on my flight to Athens, and so that was super dope, and we had pizza and grabbed a slice before we hopped on that 11-hour plane ride, some ridiculous number like that. But yeah, so I did no planning. Truly all I did was book the trip, and they have the itineraries on the website. Obviously things are variable because life happens, and there are also extra things that you can add once you get there. Once the tour director gets a better vibe of the group, they can, offer suggestions or offer to plan things kind of in the moment, depending on interest of the group and individuals and demand and all of those things. So I did no planning to answer that question, and I allowed the company to do that. And there are, a bunch of trips and whatever. I really support this company. I've had nothing but positive experiences. Granted, my sample size is 2, but nonetheless, I've only had positive experiences, and people that I've met on these trips have also done multiple trips, and, people come back for a reason. So I think it's a really easy way to travel. I think it's a great way to meet people, especially as a young folk. I want to do a whole episode on building community and making friends post schooling, right? Be that if you dropped out of be that whether you went to college or not, or whatever life path you took. I think making friends outside of school is very different, and not something that we're very well prepared for, in my opinion. But that is an episode for another day. Let me know if that would be interesting to y'all, though. So comment on Apple, comment on Instagram, and let me know if that would be of interest to y'all. Well, so actually, I didn't plan the trip, but in that same line, I did organize myself to a certain extent, right? So I had the itinerary beforehand, and I planned out every outfit for every day. My cousin Ashley, shout out to you if you're listening. My cousin Ashley does this for all of our trips, down to the undergarments, right? Blue socks and white sneakers. She is very, very organized. Hence why I say I am not the most organized in my family, because it was the first time I've done this, and I took it from her. But I had the itinerary and I planned out my outfits, and that allowed me not to overpack, right? I definitely threw in a couple of extra outfits, but this was the first time where I truly didn't feel like I overpacked. And it was weird because I'm so used to overpacking, so that packing for what I actually need felt like underpacking. It wasn't, but it felt like that. And so, I brought like an extra bathing suit, extra workout clothes, and then pro tip, or I don't know if I want to say pro, but tip, because this is an advice podcast. I like to pair, especially on vacations, especially on tropical vacations, one basic or neutral piece with one bright or patterned or statement piece. That way I can rewear and create multiple looks. So what I mean by that is I brought a solid like light blue bodysuit. You've definitely seen it on my Instagram. I have that exact same bodysuit in like an olive green. You've also seen it on my Instagram. I brought both of those and then I paired them with different statement pieces. So I paired the light blue bodysuit with this like leopard colored print wraparound skirt, or I guess just wrap skirt. And then I paired the olive green one with these striped pants that are actually becoming one of my like favorite vacay pants. I think they're so cool. But I could have worn either of those bodysuits with either of those bottoms. Therefore, I already had 4 outfits packed by just packing those 4 items. I also brought like a black tube top, right, that I could wear with essentially anything because I wanted to have variety while also not overpacking. And so I think that's the way that I'm gonna go moving forward, is one solid piece in the look with one statement or colored piece in the look, right? Like jeans are a staple, and like any white or black top essentially is a staple. So you can wear them together, but also I can wear a white or black top with almost any bottoms that I bring, and I can wear my jeans with almost any top that I bring. And so really thinking about what can I wash, if you don't have access to a washer and dryer, what can I hand wash, right? That tube top is simple. I can wash it in the shower, let it air dry overnight, and then rewear it, not feel dirty, have a whole new look, and not, be pushing 50 pounds when I'm traveling all the time. So things to think about. Also, in general for Greece, we're going to jump to another segment, I think, but I do want to say, I think in general for Greece, packing wise, very important to bring like comfy shoes because they are old streets and it is a very inaccessible place for people who struggle with walking, right? So you may be able-bodied but have your limitations, right? I think we all have our limitations, and so comfortable shoes definitely is helpful. Also investing in shoes, not specifically for Greece, but I saw, I think it was a reel / TikTok, and it was just like there's few things in life worth spending the extra money on, but 2 of those things are good quality shoes because they truly do support your body from the ground up, and it's very, very true. And I'm 23, but I say as I'm getting older, I realize that more and more, just because I, again, am very much always on a holistic health journey and prioritizing my health and understanding all of the ways in which I can care for myself. And something as simple as getting well supported, or I think just supportive. Getting supportive shoes and investing in quality supportive shoes is really a game changer. So yeah, I will also say that because of the amount of walking that you do on the mainland in Greece, but also on the islands. So in terms of organizing myself, that is what I did. I know that people want to know the itinerary, and so I am going to go through the itinerary, also through some of my favorite things. So on the first day that I got there, I arrived at 10 a.m. I couldn't check into the hotel until 3, so I went to the hotel, dropped off my stuff, and then I literally just strolled around. I'm going to butcher this, but I think it's Blaka, which is like the old town, right? The kind of historic town in Athens, which is weird to say because all of Athens is historic, but nonetheless, that's like old town. And I ate lunch and I had Greek yogurt in Greece. It was my first meal. It was such a power move because I knew I was going to be walking around and y'all, it was hot. Hot. Triple digits hot. Okay. So I did not want anything heavy by any means. I wanted something refreshing. I wanted something filling, but also light, so that I could walk around and not have stomach aches or anything like that. So I did that. And then we have like a welcome dinner reception. So I strolled around. I actually went to the Acropolis Museum, which is new. I want to say it was open in the past like 2-3 years. Fact check me on that, but I believe the past 2 to 3 years. And that was so lovely. I actually really enjoy going to museums by myself. I went with the girl that I had met on the plane. Her name is Vivian, just so that I can say names and it'll make life easier. So, hey Vivian, if you're listening. But yeah, Vivian and I went to the museum and we were both very hands-off. I think we both just enjoy doing our own thing, which was lovely in this sense. We were compatible in wanting to be independent. Because when I go to museums, I hate to be rushed. I don't read everything, but I want to look at everything. I'm just being honest, right? I'm not the person who will sit there and read every single plaque and every single like informational pamphlet or listen to every, like press here for audio situation. But I want to observe everything, and the things that really pique my interest are the things that I will read about, etc. So went to the Acropolis Museum, strolled around, got to see everything that was there. I think it was like $10. It was very much worth it in my opinions. We actually didn't even go downstairs to, I guess, the excavations. I know that's what paleontologists do, but I think that's also what it's called when it's just like on display like that. So we didn't go downstairs to those to walk them, but they were available and you could see them through the floors in the museum, which I also thought was cool. It very much was giving me, reminders of being in Rome, I think for obvious reasons, because it's Athens, but it was a super lovely experience. And so Acropolis Museum was kind of the thing to do on day one. And then we had a welcome dinner, and that's when I really met the rest of the group, because the first day was just people arriving from all around the US and, checking into the hotel and things like that. So that was day one. Day two was a 7 a.m. ferry to an island called Ios. Actually, okay, so they call it a ferry. To me, it's like a plane on water because it was so nice, y'all. It just had lush seats and had a bar. I say bar, but I mean European bar, aka just a little where you get food from. And so they had fresh orange juice and fresh squeezed pomegranate juice and food and snacks and all of these things. They even had a little boutique where you could buy bathing suits and all that. I didn't do that, but one of the other girls actually did buy a bathing suit, and it was so cute. So yeah, I just was very impressed by this ferry. Also, y'all know I'm from New York, and so I don't know if you've ever taken a ferry in or around New York, but they're simply not that nice. It's literally just a mode of transportation to get you from point A to point B, whereas the ferries in Greece, I feel are an experience, right? They had a car inside. It very much felt like a mini cruise, and I was just impressed. So early start, 7 a.m. ferry to Ios, and then we had lunch on the beach. We walked around. We went to the pool because we got there. Also, the ferry ride, I think, was 3.5 to 4 hours, so it was long, and that's why it was also 7 a.m., but we still got there very early, right? We got there by 10, 11 a.m., so check into the hotel, and then everyone was just boiling because it was hot. So we all changed into bathing suits real quick and went to the pool, which is where I actually wish I was currently. So mentally I'm still on vacation, but went to the pool and the beach, and then walked around a little bit, and then we had a dinner at like 7:30. I'm trying to remember if we did the hike that day. I think we did. Potentially. Oh no, we did the hike the next day. I see it in my notes. So yeah, day 2 was very much just like a chill vibe. And the whole trip was, Greek islands, and therefore it's all gonna be a kind of like beachy hangout vacation. But I promised that I did things. So day 3, there was breakfast, and then this was a beach day. There was an option to go snorkeling. I did not do that because it had a speedboat and I get motion sick. But I have snorkeled multiple times before, and I really enjoy snorkeling. So if you're ever interested in snorkeling, I do recommend it. I didn't do it on this trip, and honestly, I think it was a good decision for me, for the sole fact that this was the first time that almost everyone else on the trip, there was only 4 of us who didn't go snorkeling, and it was strange, but it was also like a very small like moment of power and agency for me to be like, I'm not gonna lead into FOMO. I'm gonna lean. Can I speak? I'm going to lean into JOMO, right? The joy of missing out. And I think there is an underrated value in solitude and being by yourself, even on a group vacation, even when the intention is to build community and connect and relax. There is value and space, and I think it's important to create pockets of solitude and just, individual time. And so that was my day to do that. I hung out with 2 of the other people, but we all, I think, gave ourselves space of solitude, right? I took some photos that day. I hung out on the beach. I, tanned, just literally chilled. And it was really nice. And it was only for like 3 or 4 hours because that's how long the rest of the group went snorkeling. And then when they came back, we ended up going to like a pool party, and then we all went out to dinner and etc. So that was that day. We also did sunset drinks and dinner, but we actually did like a hike. So it was more like drinks and snacks, if I'm being honest. By no means was it a meal, but we walked around town. And then if we wanted to go to dinner with the tour guide, we could, and a majority of us did because she's from Greece. And so we trusted her advice on where to eat, which I think is a pretty natural thing. So moving on to day number 4. Yes, I can count. So day number 4, breakfast. This was a beach day, but we actually went to this like private beach, Managari, I think it is. Yeah, I think it's Managari Beach, and it was a gorgeous, gorgeous beach. This was such a day of like childlike freedom, in my opinion. This was one of my favorite days purely because it was the first time where almost the whole group was together, and we really just did something as a large group, right? And for us, I think that was like 22, 27. It was a lot of us, is my point. And so it was really nice to just really interact with everyone in such like a playful, fun, low stakes way of, we played volleyball in the water, and we played like catch, and just really simple things that are unimpressive but are so fun and are actually bonding, like connecting experiences. And so that was one of my favorite days. And it was a gorgeous, gorgeous beach, just, turquoise waters, white sand, all that jazz. Fun fact is that the night before, I had actually met these like 3 Italian men at dinner with a couple of the friends that I had made on the trip. And so I was sitting with one of the girls, Alana, and I shout out to you if you're listening. I was sitting with one of the girls, Alana, in the sand, and these guys walked by us, and I was like, oh my God, Alana, like, are those the Italian men? And she was like, no way. And she turns around and she was like, I think it is. And so one of the guys' name was Luca. And so I was like, Luca. And, oh, sorry, RIP headphone users. I tried to whittle it down, so hopefully it's not too loud. But I screamed for him, and he turned around, and I was like, oh my God, it's him. He was like, hey, what's up? And so we were all talking, and they're not in my life anymore, but I just thought it was a really serendipitous, like, wow, of all the places and of all the people, of all the times, the fact that we've now aligned twice without, communicating, I just thought was cool. And it's just one of those, like, fun, I think, traveling experiences where it meant something more, or it was like that much more of a nice surprise because I was traveling and because in my everyday life it's pretty routine, so there's not much serendipity that I experience day to day. So the fact that there was just this like little serendipitous moment that happened was like, wow, only on vacation. And like, it's not only on vacation, but y'all know what I mean, hopefully. That was kind of like the vibe or the energy that I was feeling in that. So it was just really cool and worth noting. So yeah, that's what we did that day. Super chill, just like R&R day. Very grateful that I had that. Day 5, breakfast, of course. The breakfast also is like real carb heavy. It's like bread and more bread and more bread. Also, from what I'm understanding, I was in pretty touristy places, so I don't want to say that I got like authentic, Greek experience or exposure. But my tour guide lives in Athens and is from Greece. And so she was telling me that they very much eat like a light breakfast. They are for sure on a more Mediterranean diet, which naturally makes sense. But so they will literally have just like a little like shortbread cookie kind of thing for breakfast with like a coffee on the go. Like, they're not breakfast eaters. If y'all know me personally, you know I am a breakfast eater. I need something in my body in the morning. I do not function without food in the morning, and it's just like a pillar of who I am. Sienna needs to have breakfast. It's a known thing. But so the breakfast at this hotel was actually pretty nice. They give you a like full spread. They give you like cheese and salami and bread and yogurt and different like dippings and a boiled egg and fruit, which I love fresh fruit on any island that I go to. So day 5, breakfast. That was the day that we left that island, Ios, and we took the ferry mini cruise to Santorini. We all know Santorini, right? Blue domes, white houses, etc. It is more gorgeous than you can imagine. Let me say that. It really and truly is like living in a postcard. Like, I felt like I was walking in a place that I just shouldn't, but like I don't belong, right? Like, this is a place of storybooks. It's just so breathtaking. That day we had an all-day village tour and wine tasting. That obviously was also a highlight day. I'm actually not like a wino, y'all. I dislike wine. Let me not say that. I've yet to find wines that I sincerely enjoy. There's one that like, I don't even know if it counts as wine. It's essentially juice. It's D'Asti Moscato. And I first had it in Italy, so part of the fact being that, it was from Italy. And then 2, it's just so sweet. Like, all wine just tastes like bitter to me. Even like smooth wines, I think that's the word when they're not dry. It doesn't do it for me. So I'm not a wino, but I was like, it's a village tour by like a Greek person, right? Like, when's the next time that you're gonna get that? And I learned so much on that tour, which I thought was really cool. Okay, so fun fact. One of the things that I learned was that the reason that Santorini has those like blue domes and blue doors and etc. actually dates back right when like the main source of income was fishermen, and the fishermen would paint the bottom of their boats blue when they go fishing so that it's like camouflaged in the water, and they would bring that paint home and paint their doors and roofs. Wow, we're not. It's early this morning. I won't tell you all the time. because I don't want to expose myself, but it is early. And I am getting this out because I've been so undisciplined. I just had a brain fart and we're going to leave it at that. But something that I learned, so they would take the paint from the dock, right, that they hadn't used on the bottom of their boats and paint their doors and roofs with that same color so as not to waste paint. So that's actually the reason that's what started kind of the blue domes and doors and whatever in Santorini. And I think that's what most people think of when they think of Greece, but also Santorini specifically. So fun fact, that's why that is that way, or at least according to my tour guide. So it was just learning things like that where I was like, wow, like this is so cool. We got to go to a monastery and like see a church, and everything in the church was handmade, and it, you know, like the chairs were all wooden and handmade, and just looking at everything, looking at the altars, just truly gorgeous. I have a thing with like churches and cathedrals. One, I think they're gorgeous. I don't know anything about architecture, but I admire fascinating architecture. And churches and cathedrals obviously fall in line with fascinating architecture, at least in my opinion. Also, as a person of faith, right, I just think it's such an honor and privilege to be able to walk into different people's worship places. I am Christian, so going into churches or cathedrals, right, being Catholic like that. I'm not Catholic, but I've been Catholic, so I understand to a certain degree, right, like the customs of respect and thing like that. I just think it's such a privilege to see where other people, you know, go to worship, and it's gorgeous, especially in places like Rome and Greece. And so it was a really beautiful experience. I always light a candle for, you know, family members who have passed, and so it's just always like a grounding moment for me no matter where I am. And it's a weird way, I don't want to say weird, but it is a way for me when I am traveling, if I happen upon a church or cathedral and I can go in, I do go in and I light a candle, and it's a way for me to feel connected to those family members who have passed, and to just kind of be like, they're here with me, and they're, you know, one, they're always with me, but two, like they're seeing me travel, and like they're happy, and I would just imagine that like they are happy for me having this experience. And you know, I don't want to get too like emotional or sappy, but that is my truth and my reality about why I do that. So if you ever travel with me, or if you ever see me traveling and you see me lighting a candle in a cathedral, you know a little bit about what's going on in my brain. It's like me remembering, me honoring, but also me grounding myself and like, wow, like I'm really here, you know what I mean? And even though they're not physically here with me, and I can't call them and tell them, like they're watching me have this experience, and I think that's really beautiful. So that was that. Went to the wine tasting. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Y'all know I don't like wine, so I didn't enjoy any of it, but I enjoyed the experience. I just didn't enjoy the wine, right? Like I wasn't gonna go buy a bottle. But that was super, super cool. And then that was the day that we, you know, go to kind of the famous lookout point, and everyone gets their like Santorini photo with all the backgrounds. It was wild. Our tour guide was just so well informed because she's been doing this for years, and she got us there, when I tell you, minutes before the line was wrapping around the island. Like it was excessively long. So I made sure I got in, got my photo, and I exited that line expeditiously, because it was overwhelming, y'all. It was absurd. It was gorgeous though. Like it was worth it, but good Lord, I'm glad I didn't have to wait in that line. The only line that I waited in was like the line of our group, right? The like 22, 28 of us. I cannot remember. If you were on this trip, can you remind me? Let's say 28 because it's bigger. So the 28 of us that, you know, did the village tour and wine tasting, we obviously had to get in the line by ourselves because you wanted no one in your background. So we were the beginning of the line, and I was so grateful for that. So That obviously was a highlight. That was day 5. Day 6, breakfast. This was also one of my favorite day. Honestly, y'all, the trip was great. I keep saying like my favorite things, but we'll circle back to it, I guess. This was so cool. I have a thing with volcanoes. I like to say that I've been around them. So when I was in Sicily, I hiked Monte Etna, which is their volcano in Sicily. And so we did a volcano hike in Santorini, and a natural clay springs or hot springs. I think it was natural hot springs that had clay. Are clay springs even a thing? I don't know. I digress. Volcano hike and hot springs, super, super cool, super, super fun. The hike was a little steep in my personal opinion. It was only like a 30-minute hike. Like, it was not difficult in the sense of it's not the most rigorous path, and if you're a hiker, that's fine. But for the way that I was eating on this trip, the fact that I had not been moving my body like that, and the fact that it was hot, I don't think I can emphasize that enough. It was hot. Okay. Also, I have asthma, and I literally brought my inhaler, took 2 pumps, and it like stopped working. It ran out, and I didn't realize that. So like I said, I packed it, check for me, but I didn't like check how full it was, so minus for me. So we're back to being neutral. So I didn't have my inhaler, and not that my asthma flared up, but I just know I do it like preemptively to kind of open up my lungs and have more capacity. If I know that I'm going to be, in the heat doing not really strenuous activity, but I guess like exerting myself to a certain degree. But yeah, the volcano hike, beautiful views. Again, not views of like the city, right? It is a natural view situation, which I think makes sense. But just want to put that out there if people decide to do it. Gorgeous, gorgeous. We did it early in the morning, like 8 a.m., thankfully, because 1, the sun is not at its peak heat, but 2, we just beat the like public crowds because we did a private tour. And again, overwhelmingly grateful for that. Our tour guide and tour guides, all of them, were phenomenal. Like, I'm just so grateful for them. So yeah, volcano hike was super cool. And then the natural clay springs were just gorgeous as well. That's all I can say, y'all. It was really just like the water was this like auburn, like murky red color because of the clay, which I thought was really cool. And I like, it had a lot of sulfur, so I like put it all over my body and let it just be a little bit of a detox. It was super cool. Also, we had a pirate ship. It's in my reel that I posted about Greece, but it was just so cool, dude. It was literally just like a yo-ho pirate ship. And it was just so cool. So I really enjoyed everything about that day. So from our hotel, we, got ready, showered, and then bused to the capital so we could have dinner and explore. After the hike, I think I literally, what did I do that day? Oh, you know what? I got food. I went to the beaches in Santorini. Not my favorite. They're black sand beaches, but it's rocks. It's not sand. And so that was just disappointing because it was painful. Like, it's the kind of place where you need like water shoes with soles so that you don't feel it type of situation. The water was just as clear, just as gorgeous in that regard, but just not like a true lounging beach because it was painful to walk on the rocks. Or like pebbles, etc. So not my favorite beaches, but gorgeous. So I checked that out, and then I went back to the hotel and showered and all those things. Got ready. And then we went to the capital and explored, had dinner. That was super cool. That was a day that I actually wandered solo a little bit as well, which I appreciated. I got dinner with some friends, and then we just started walking, and people were popping in and out of souvenir shops, and I wandered by myself. Again, there was just kind of moments where I wanted solitude, and I took them. And so I ran into actually this guy named Joe on our trip. Shout out to you if you're listening. I shout out everyone, like, if I'm telling a story about them in case they're listening, because I just know how special, can I speak? My goodness. I know how special, I promise y'all, I'm okay. I know how special I would feel if I was listening to a podcast or watching content that someone I know creates and they shouted me out. So that's why I do it. Just a fun fact. Or not so fun fact, but just an inside look into my brain. So I met up with Joe, like randomly. We just ran into each other. We were both wandering by ourselves and we explored. I pushed him a little bit out of his comfort zone because I am such a wanderer, and I'll literally like see an alley and I'll be like, what's down there? I'll be like, I don't know. And I'm like, all right, well, there's one way to find out. And I just start walking and he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, what's the worst that's gonna happen? Like, we're gonna be okay. It's an alleyway, and not like this dark, unlit alleyway, right? Nothing like that. Safety, obviously, especially as a solo woman traveler. Like, I'm very cognizant of these things, but I also want to explore, and I don't want to limit myself. And so I would just like go places I should not be going. I'll be like, ooh, is this door open? And it'll be like the entrance to this private hotel. And I'll be like, well, we're not trespassing. So, but we now like see this view and now we know where this random door leads to. So like things like that. There was, I think it's a bishop. There was like one of the grand bishops of Greece, like lives in Santorini, which I think makes sense for obvious reasons, right? And so his house has like this statue of the Virgin Mary, Mother Mary, and this like gorgeous gold crown with like rubies and jewels. I don't want to say diamonds because it wasn't like diamonds, but it was like jewels. And I at first just saw the statue, right? There's like this grand gate, and I was like, do you see that statue? And so I was like, what are the chances you think it's real? And Joe was like, oh, 100%. So I opened the gate and I was like, well, if they don't want us to come in, they'd lock it, right? So I opened the gate and we walked in, and that's when we realized that it was someone's house, because if you look to the right, there's windows and you could see people having dinner. And Joe was like, oh my God. And I was like, it's fine. Like, breathe. It's okay. We're not doing anything. We're literally just looking at the statue. We're not bothering them. We're about to head out. Like, it's okay. But yeah, so things like that are what I mean when I say like I pushed Joe out of his comfort zone. But it was really lovely to just like explore. I got a bracelet with the evil eye, right? Maldojo. And it's like this, if you don't know what it is, it's literally a eye, and it has like a blue pupil, and it's meant to like protect you and ward off like bad energy, those who wish you harm, things of that nature. And it's all over Greece. It's not specific to Greek culture whatsoever. I feel like it's really prominent in like Latinx Catholic culture as well. And then I got my dad like this fedora, because he likes fedoras, and it had like this really Grecian, it was a white fedora with like this really Grecian pattern band kind of around the rim, which was cool. I got, what else did I get, y'all? Oh, I got a little mug that the handle actually broke on my way back, which made me sad. I'm like, it's fine. But yeah, I got a mug. I got hand towels for my house. So like when you're in the kitchen, you know, those decorative hand towels. I got like hand sewn hand towels that have like things of Santorini. I got myself a canvas painting that I think is gorgeous. Gorgeous, darling. Do y'all know that reference? Edna from The Incredibles, hopefully. Why am I like this? Okay, moving on. Yeah, so that was really lovely to just like explore, and Joe and I were talking a lot that night, and so many things came up for me on this trip, but one of the things in that conversation, and I think just in that experience, is how I think like unifying, I guess, how bonding a travel experience can be. And I think there's a beauty in having people that are simply a part of your life for these like monumental trips, right? Like for me, nothing about Greece is monumental in the sense that like it wasn't commemorating a birthday or an engagement or a graduation or anything like that, right? It wasn't like a milestone, but it actually was my first PTO. It was the first time that I had ever taken like a trip on PTO, right? Paid time off. And that was super, wow, off? Can we tell I'm from New York? And that was so cool because rest is so important. And I think like we hear about PTO all the time, or at least I do. And you hear about it, you hear that like Americans don't get enough, and like that's a fact, agreed. But it was just a real different feeling, y'all. It was liberating. I feel like I unlocked a level of adulthood where I was sitting on the beach in Greece and I was walking around Greece and I could just randomly be like, I'm getting the same paycheck when I get home. Like that was such a beautiful feeling of like, I get to rest. I get to prioritize my values of cultures and connecting with other people and traveling while not sacrificing my livelihood. And that was amazing, right? I took a week and a day because of my travel dates, and so that was on my mind a lot this trip. Was just like the value of PTO. Use your PTO, max it out. I know that there's this like sense of obligation and you want to be a good employee, but like being a good employee also means setting boundaries and prioritizing yourself. And I know that that's easier said than done in certain industries with certain bosses, etc. And so I don't want to minimize that, but I also want to say that like if there's anything worth advocating for, it's yourself and your rest. And so, you know, really fight for your PTO. I hope you don't have to fight for it, right? I hope your employers just like value your rest and rejuvenation as much as you deserve them to, and it's easy. But understanding that it may not always be easy for people, it's worth fighting for. Because at the end of the day, you are your priority, right? You are not the company's priority. You are not even your employer's priority. You are your priority as an individual, right? Existing outside of all of the roles that we fulfill in society, like as a person, you are your priority. And I think you owe it to yourself to advocate for what you need and for what you want, and these companies will replace you. And I don't mean that in a like you don't matter kind of way, but I mean that in a you matter more than the role that you fill, because ultimately that role will be filled, right? And so those are my 2 cents. I don't want to get, I guess, I don't think it's controversial, but I don't want to get in the realm of controversy there. But yeah, take your PTO. So I guess Greece was kind of monumental in that way, right? Like it was the first time where I was like, yo, this is a different level of adulthood. Like I've unlocked it. But super cool. And then last day, breakfast, we checked out. We did a 5-hour ferry ride from Santorini back to Athens. And then the second we got off that ferry, we hopped on a bus and we did a tour of the Acropolis. That was gorgeous. That was definitely a favorite moment. It really was just, I don't know, y'all. There's something about being in ruins that is really impactful. It is amazing, but not always in a positive, right? Like when I was in Pompeii, it feels wrong to say that it was amazing, but it was very impactful. Athens, I think more so, I'm allowed to say amazing. But nonetheless, I think I just default to like impactful. It was a really impactful experience because it's almost indescribable, this feeling where even if you're not a history buff, because I am not a history buff, being in a place where you are surrounded by history, where culture and people and ideas that exist to this day were birthed and, you know, waged over and resurrected. Like there's so much. That feeling is indescribable, truly, at least for me. And so I really value those experiences, right? I had it for the first time in Rome and then now in Greece. And so the Acropolis tour was insightful, right? Just in terms of what's what and where's where. And really impactful. Also gorgeous. The sunset that day I mean, just next level. Just like what a perfect kind of send off full day in Greece. Like it's all over my Insta, so y'all have seen it in my reels. I have more videos as well that I can share. Maybe I'll do a carousel post to like promote this episode. But just absolutely breathtaking in my humble opinion. And that night, last night, was actually one of my favorite nights. So we, again, right, I was talking about serendipity earlier in this episode. And so we went out to this place, and it's like 360 views of Athens. And so you can see the Acropolis lit up at night. Actually, the Acropolis is technically the rock. So you see the Parthenon lit up at night. And it, it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. But so we go to this bar 360, and there was a group of 5 of us. And they're like, all right, 2 of you sit here, 2 of you sit here, 1 of you sits here. And we're like, no, we came together to sit together. Because, like, why would you break up like, that's so silly. So there was a table with only 3 people, and it was like a longer table. And so it was a little bit of a squeeze, but the 5 of us definitely could have fit. So they put 2 of us with those people already. And we were like, hey, we're a group of 5. Like, they wanted to split us up. Are you cool if the other 3 people join? They're like, yeah, the more the merrier. Awesome. Cool. So we're sitting, and I'm sitting directly next to like these people that we don't know. And so I'm chatting them up. I'm trying to see what's up. Who are they, right? They're obviously cool enough to be like, yeah, come join our table. And they're not awkward about it. And so the girl actually has like balloons behind her, right? The big 3 and the big 0. I was like, oh my God, is it your birthday? And she's like, yeah, it is. I was like, wow, happy birthday. She's turning 30. It was like a whole shindig. And so her name's Laura. I don't know if she's listening. I doubt it. But hi, Laura. And her brother Frank. Hi, Frank. There's actually a story there, y'all. So long story short, because this is an insanely long episode for like just me speaking. But we sat down, and I met Frank and Laura and her boyfriend, and all of us did. And so we're all like chatting, and they're from Colombia. And so we're like, oh my God, like Latinos. And my friend Chris, who was with me, or who I met on this trip, right, who was also with me at that table, he's Dominican. And so we were just all chatting, and it was super cool. And for her birthday, they got like a bottle of champagne. And so we all like did a toast. And then us, like the people that I was with, we decided like, let's get shots for her birthday, right? And also to just like thank them for letting us sit with them, which is a weird thing, but like y'all get it, because that's like not normal. And so we got a round of shots, but 2 of us got rounds of shots. So we had 2 rounds of tequila shots. We had like 2 champagne bottles. We had a whole cake. That was them, right? Like Frank, her brother, and her boyfriend got Laura a cake, and we like sang happy birthday, and it was just so fun and so cool. And it was just one of those, again, like serendipity moments where it was like, how is this real, right? I think there are those moments in life where they ground you. You don't necessarily ground yourself, but I think there are moments that simply pull you out and ground you. And I think that was a moment for me where like I was looking around, I was talking to Frank, super interesting, like cool dude. And so I was talking to this person that I've never met, and we're just like not even talking about experiences, but like, yes, we spoke about experiences, but we also spoke about concepts, right? It was just like this really engaging conversation that you don't have every day. I'm looking back at the Parthenon lit up. I'm in Greece. I'm getting paid. Like, there's so many aspects that just like in that moment drew me out, grounded me in like the reality of how blessed I am and how amazing my life is, and that moment was. And then I came back into the moment, it was present, and it was just so cool. And that was a highlight because it was just the most unexpected way for me to like end this Greece trip, with like meeting more people that I don't know, because I did this solo, and making these connections that just felt really authentic. They felt like they were very much serving their purpose in that moment of my life. And I think there's a lot of value in having those interactions, right? Where I may not see these people ever again. Not because I don't want to, but just because of life, right? Like I may not see these people ever again, but they will forever be a part of like these amazing memories that I have in Greece. And I think that's really cool to just know that these people that are living their own like amazing, fabulous lives are also characters in my story, and we've crossed paths in like a very impactful way. I just think that's super cool. I'm rambling, but I think that's super, super cool. So that's everything I did, but those are also highlighting some of my favorite things that I did, some of the favorite experiences that I had when it comes to solo traveling, because I know a lot of people are like, how do you do it? And for me, I think this trip was just so fun. It was so chaotic. But it was also very eye-opening for a lot of reasons. One, going to a new place, always seeing how people live differently from you. But also, again, one of the reasons that I enjoy this company is because it is a group. And so I'm meeting people from all over the US. And the way that someone who was born and raised in Oklahoma thinks, and like how different their life is from mine as someone who lives in New York and LA and Florida and all these places that I've lived. It's really eye-opening. And so I think in that way, like I get double because I get to learn more about my own country while also learning about this other country that I'm visiting. And I just think that's super, super cool and dope. If I'm gonna be honest, y'all, oof, can you hear my knuckles cracking? Sorry. The food did not do what it needed to do. It did not understand the assignment. And I don't know, it just, you know what it was? I think the meals just simply were not balanced. Like a meal that I had, so everything was served with French fries. I like in my heart just tell myself, and I'm pretty sure that's just because we were in very touristy places, but like the side for everything was French fries. And it was just overwhelming. Like I wanted more fresh food, and I don't feel like I got that. Everything was like fried or like, I don't know. It was just strange. It just was not my favorite. But so I think the meals were not balanced. And so that was not my favorite part. But we did get free shots like multiple times. So like at the end of a meal, we got like free shots of limoncello. We got free shots of, I think, tequila one time. We got free shots of something else. I don't know what it was, but it was pretty good. So yeah, that kind of covers and answers my favorite things and what I did. And then general advice for Greece that y'all asked for as well is, I think Greece is one of those places where you want to go with someone. It is just very romantic. I have no regrets about going solo. And if you want to go to Greece, I'm not saying you should wait to go with someone, but I'm saying if Greece wasn't on your list or it's not a priority for you, I would recommend going with someone. It is so gorgeous, very romantic, and I think I would go back with a partner because I think it would just be an entirely different experience. I think to a degree it would elevate the experience in the sense that like if I was going with someone, like I'd ball out, right? Like that wouldn't be my balling on a budget trip. That would be my like ball out luxury trip, because there are, I think, so many luxuries that you can access that are gorgeous and that will really elevate the experience. And so, yeah, I would say go with someone super romantic. Comfy shoes, like I said before, that's life advice, honestly, but comfy shoes for sure. There's a lot of walking. It is hot. I keep saying it because y'all don't understand. It was 105 degrees at one point, 105 degrees Fahrenheit. Granted, that was a heat wave, so it was the hottest day that it had been in forever. So wear very light clothes, light colors, but also like light fabric or material, because you will sweat. Fanny pack. Actually, I now understand why they've come back, because they're so useful. I got a cute fanny pack off of Amazon. I don't love Amazon, but it is convenient. So I got a cute fanny pack off of Amazon, and I really think it's a power move because there's no straps on you or your back. So 1, tan lines, but 2, when you are melting, it's not even sweating at that point, when you are melting inside of your clothes the way that everyone was, to not have straps sticking to you on your back, like all of that is just, it's a power move. I think it's a necessity, honestly. So y'all, wow, I promise I can speak. Fanny pack power move. Also, when thinking about like preventing pickpocketing and having all of your essentials with you, I think in general, make an effort with the language, right? Like simple things like please, thank you, you're welcome, right? Efarasto, ne, like yes, no, all of these things. Parakalo, like you want to make that effort. I think it's a really sad and ugly but true American stereotype that we're very entitled travelers. And so while I don't think we should applaud a dog for barking, I think a lot of people do, because a lot of Americans don't make the effort, right? They assume that you speak English. They don't try to learn your language. And even those little things, right? Like by no means do I speak Greek, literally at all. But I learned these like 5 grounding words just so that I could at least say these, you know, kind of like, are they pleasantries? They're just like manners, whatever. But just so I could say these like staple words. I feel like I want to be able to say thank you in your language. I want to be able to say please in your language. Yes or no, water, right? Like those things I want to at least make that effort to say. Because I think it means a lot when someone tries. And so I think in general, like make an effort with the language. Also visit one non-tourist place. This is in general. I think this is also for Greece specifically, and is something I want to do. I do want to go back. I do want to visit 2 other touristy places, right? Crete and Mykonos, but I want to visit at least one non-touristy place and like truly immerse myself in the culture and just see how Greek people live. So yeah, do that. Also, like I said before, just be prepared to walk. It is very, very inaccessible for, you know, differently abled folks, people who are in wheelchairs. It is not made for differently abled folks. I'm just being honest. Athens, the islands, like really none of it. It's not impossible by any means, but it is just real inaccessible. And so something to consider if like you have a child and we're thinking about bringing a stroller and all of that. Like I would wait till they get older, if I was being honest, right? Or I would just go with my partner and like leave the kids at home with someone. I don't think that's, you know, that kind of family friendly trip. Let's see what else. Those were kind of the general things that I jotted down for Greece. I'm saying a lot. And then last but not least, I said this before, but I really will say it again, like the importance of PTO and rest truly is immeasurable. And so use your PTO, take your time off, like please rest. You deserve it. You've earned it, but also you don't even need to earn rest because it is a requirement for you to be functioning well. It is not a luxury. It is not a reward, right? Rest is not a reward. It is a requirement. And so I think leaning into that and allowing yourself to set that boundary and really assert that is important, in my opinion. I 10 out of 10 recommend. And plan early, right? I think like your organization / company will be fine. You obviously do want to be considerate of your team and the projects that are going on and etc. So there may be better times. Absolutely. But ultimately, there's always something happening. And there's always the unexpected that may or may not pop up, right? And so plan as early as you can, one, because you're more likely to get approved, but two, people have a heads up to plan for your absence that day or those days or that week or those weeks, etc. And so be considerate, but also remember that you deserve to take your paid time off, right? It's there for a reason. And so utilize it, and I think just be communicative. The earlier that you put it in, the earlier you get approved. And also you may get approved before they put something on the books that week, and that's a really important week, but we already approved Sienna to take off, so we can't ask her to not take off, right? Like, those things I think just make a difference. I feel like I've been rambling. I have for over an hour, but I want to get this episode out today, so it'll probably be out in a couple of hours. I am going to do better. I'm going to stop apologizing for not being consistent, and I'm simply going to do better. So you can expect to hear from your girl in probably a week. I'm traveling again, but for work, which is different. But also, I really like traveling for work. Y'all didn't ask, but I do. So I'm sharing. One, because I think it's a really cool way to like explore different parts of the US that I haven't been to. But two, just like bonding with coworkers when I'm working full-time remote. Like, this is very tangible human interaction, and it's a different dynamic, and it's lovely. Okay, I am done. If you have made it all the way to the end, I appreciate you wholeheartedly with my full heart. Thank y'all so much for listening and supporting. I have really big things that I am trying to do with this podcast and with this community. So again, if you have any friends that you think would gain value from this, please, please, please share. Thank you all so much for being in this community with me. I feel so loved and supported and appreciated, and I see each and every one of you, and I'm just so grateful for your presence here. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, shout out if you are anyone that went to Greece with me, or if you are a new listener because I randomly have interacted with you. Hi, thank you so much for tuning in. And with that, I am gonna let y'all have wonderful days, weeks, months, years. So without further ado, love and light, beautiful people.